Now, according to the Crown Prosecution Service, a hate incident is any incident which the victim or anyone else thinks is based on someone's prejudice towards them because of their race, religion, sexual orientation, disability, or because they are transgender. So, does this count?
British businesses have driven the economic recovery in this country, with employment at record levels. However, we still need to do more, so all British people get the opportunities they need to get on in life. The test should ensure people coming here are filling gaps in the labour market, not taking jobs that British people could do. But it's become a tick-box exercise, allowing some firms to get away with not training local people. We won't win in the world if we don't do more to upskill our workforce. It's not fair on companies doing the right thing, so I want us to look again at whether our immigration system provides the right incentives for businesses to invest in British workers.
That was Amber Rudd speaking at last year's Conservative conference. Journalists were told after her speech that a consultation paper would include an option to require companies to publish the proportion of international staff they employ. She was fairly roundly criticised at the time. Labour accused her of fanning the flames of xenophobia. Well, we learned from this morning's Times that one academic was so concerned about the implications of the Home Secretary's speech that he reported it to the police, which I think she's broadly in charge of. And under a new policy approved by Amber Rudd, it has been recorded as, quote, a hate incident. The complainant is Joshua Silver, and he joins us now. Welcome to the programme. At the Tory conference, the speech of which you complained, she said, we need to do more so all British people get the opportunities they need to get on in life. The test should ensure people coming here are filling gaps in the labour market, not taking jobs British people could do. In what conceivable way was that a hate speech?
What I have been looking at is to what extent statements made by senior politicians about foreigners can be interpreted as some sort of mechanism, if you like, to help foster the idea in the country against the EU.
Right, and that's a broad brush approach.
It is.
Now, I understand that. But what was hateful about Amber Rudd's speech on these words?
Well, you've just picked a few words.
Well, that's the key part of the speech. The briefing later talked about what would be hateful about looking at companies.
It's discriminating against. It's picking on foreigners.
Why is it picking on foreigners to say that British people need to get on in life?
She did say there were briefings that she was going to keep lists of foreigners.
No, actually, that's not what the briefing was. I was at the conference. There was a press report that said that, but it wasn't
Well, I
accurate.
Certainly picked up. So the press report wasn't accurate.
No, what the briefing was, we had people at the briefing. What the briefing is that she was thinking, it was an option, didn't actually happen in them, but it was an option to look at a breakdown of companies of what percentage of foreign-born workforce they were employing and British-born. It was roughly an idea that Ed Miliband had proposed himself several years ago. Now, you're a physicist, right, at Oxford. A Labour economist may well find that information very useful to work out where we are failing to give people already in this country of all hues and ethnicities and colours the proper skills. What's hateful about it?
Keeping lists of foreigners is something that...
But that wasn't what was proposed.
Well, you just said it was.
No. Well, the proposal was, and I say it was an option that was never done, was to find out if a company was employing 25% migrants or 30%.
What do you mean it was an option? What are you saying?
Well, that's what they said. It was an option, and then they didn't proceed.
No, but they floated it.
Did you watch the speech?
No, I didn't actually see the speech, but I've read the draft and I've looked at all the feedback that there was to the speech.
But it was the speech you complained about, wasn't it?
Yes.
So you complained about a speech you hadn't actually
No, I've read
watched.
the speech carefully and I've looked at all the feedback.
Right, and I understand the feedback, but politicians even journalists sometimes can't be blamed for the feedback itself. I'm still trying to find out what is hateful about the remarks
it's discriminating. It's discriminating against foreigners. That's what it's about. Well, because you pick on them and say, you know, we want to give jobs to British people, not to foreigners.
That's not what she said.
That was...
She simply wanted to find out if there's skill shortages and we're bringing people in to do these jobs because our own people don't have them, why would you not want to give British people these skills?
It was interpreted that way.
The police, in the end, they didn't do a formal investigation, but they did record it as a hate incident.
Yes.
Was this a hate incident? Michael Howard, I was asking you.
Of course it wasn't. And I think you cited Ed Miliband. What Amber Rudd said was no different from what Gordon Brown had said when he was Prime Minister, when he said there should be British jobs for British workers.
Well, actually, that was much more explicit.
It was. He didn't do anything about it. I'm afraid I think Mr. Silver should be thoroughly ashamed of himself because what he's doing is to bring a piece of well-intentioned legislation into disrepute. The meaning behind the legislation is very important. It's meant to deal with hate crimes. And Mr. Silver, who's been totally unable to justify what he's done in the face of your questioning, is bringing that legislation into disrepute.
I'll give you a quick response, Professor.
The response of the public was that this was discriminatory.
OK, we'll leave that. Have you made other complaints about politicians' speech?
Well, no, I'm not a typical, not a normal complainer, but I have also looked at one other statement. It's a statement made by Mrs. May. Okay. Mrs. May stated that she...
so we haven't... All right, very briefly, but we are very close.
Mrs. May actually said that she was in effect going to expel all foreign doctors.
Well, I don't.
And that was also picked up.
We're going to leave it there. I don't remember Mrs. May ever coming close to saying that.
I'll
but if you take it to the police,
I'll send you the reference.
And I will look forward to it. Thank you very much, Professor.